we'll allow people to get in while we talk, but let's just go ahead and start the conversation, man. So, just give us a quick introduction on introduce yourself, but also introduce the app and kind of tell us what exactly about it we need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, sure thing. Nice to meet you. My name's Nish. My background was, I studied math and statistics at university. I'm from Australia originally, so I studied math and statistics in the University of Sydney. I worked at a tech startup after that for a few years, and that tech startup got acquired by MasterCard. And then after a year of working at MasterCard as like a project manager, I got a bit bored of it, to be honest, because it was quite slow. So I left MasterCard and joined up with my friend Justin to dive back into the startup world. And so we decided to build in Web3 just because that was what we were interested in, really. I've been following crypto since like 2016, so very familiar and just interested in the technology because I started getting interested in it for like the cryptography side of things. So we decided to start building a bunch of different things in Web3. Pocket Universe is just the latest one. And just to give you a quick overview of what Pocket Universe is, it's basically a way to keep you safe from transaction-based scams in Web3. So the problem that we've been seeing is that there are a bunch of hacks and a bunch of wallet drainers out there that trick you into signing transactions that end up being malicious, that steal your assets. And what we've created is a browser extension that lets you know exactly what's going to happen in a transaction, and it also gives you a big red warning if it's one of the types of scams that we've been able to detect. So the most common one you would have seen is one that asks for token approvals, that drains your wallet of a certain type of NFT or a certain type of crypto. We basically give you a big red warning if you're about to sign a transaction that's about to steal your assets. That's like the 1-minute summary, honestly, on what the product is and my personal history. And I'm happy to dive deeper into both, but hopefully that gives us a good starting point.
Yeah, I think so. I guess my first question is, and this is like, it's great to trust, websites and products, but even in the NFT space, we've seen trusted websites get hacked somehow, or some code get injected to say, I remember Premint had a big one where they ended up paying a ton of people back in assets. What's keeping your all's extension from also seeing some kind of exploit? Well, maybe it's not malicious on your all side, but it gets hitched for malicious stuff, first and foremost. I know it's kind of like a big question right out the gate, but yeah. No,
sure thing. That's actually a good place to start. So one thing I guess the main thing to keep in mind here is that Pocket Universe doesn't actually we're not able to move your assets in any way. So we don't have your access to your seed phrase, your private key, or anything to do with your wallet, really. What Pocket Universe is basically a pop-up before your usual MetaMask pop-up that just tells you what's going to happen in this transaction. We're purely additive, so basically we're just giving you a view on top of your transaction that you otherwise wouldn't see. And everything would appear as normal in your MetaMask. So, if you imagine your usual transaction flow, you press mint or whatever button you're pressing, and MetaMask pops up and you would do your usual checks there. We just added an extra pop-up that tells you what's going to happen in that transaction before you sign as per usual MetaMask. So even if we get compromised in any way, we're not able to move your assets in any way. You still have to sign in MetaMask, right, to move absolutely anything. So that's the first point. The second point is that basically because we're going through the official Chrome store, there are a bunch of checks that the Chrome store makes to make sure that you're not injecting malicious code into their users' browsers, right? They do take some responsibility here in terms of safety and security. So not only do they audit it every single update that we make, it also takes a few days to put into the Chrome store, so that if in any case that we're compromised, basically there are multiple days to recover the account and cancel any sort of update that goes to the extension. There's a few layers of security here. I think the main thing to keep in mind is that, again, even if we get compromised in any single way, we can't move your assets. We're purely this analysis tool of what's happening in your transaction.
Interesting. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess one question I have is you mentioned MetaMask. Is this only an add-on for MetaMask, or are there other wallets that it works for as well?
Oh, so it works for every wallet that I guess functions in the same way as MetaMask. So, for example, Coinbase does things a little bit differently. So it doesn't work with Coinbase right now, but MetaMask it works for, and that's honestly the vast majority of people right now out there. It works for wallets like Frame, which is a niche one, but because they use the same methodology as MetaMask, we're very compatible with that basically. So it works with a bunch of different wallets as long as they use the same functionality or the same like methodology as MetaMask, it will work perfectly fine.
Okay, very cool. So another thing that I, first of all, I'm really impressed with the presentation too. I've even like added this into my browser, and it's just like a very clean style. I know. Are you a coder by trade?
Yeah. So I'm pretty technical. So I guess I think I glossed over this at the beginning, but I used to work at a tech startup. It was an analytics tech startup. My co-founder Justin, he's much more like he's a better dev than me by a wide margin. He used to work on operating systems at Facebook for AR/VR glasses. So yeah, he's definitely the main dev. I'm pretty technical as well, but I'd say I'm doing less technical stuff than he is.
Yeah, I was just going to add for you guys. I feel like a lot of times these projects are like really dev heavy, and they don't have like a good understanding of UI and UX. And I feel like just from like looking at everything, it's very, very clean. So that's one thing I'd say. My question is this is a free and open source project, right? What's keeping you guys motivated? Like, is there some kind of compensation you guys are receiving anywhere, or is this just free for the sake of being free?
So, I mean, our idea, first of all, was just to like make it free so that, I mean, to be honest, our opinion is that like safety and security shouldn't be gated in the space. Like this should just be how Web3 operates. Like you should know what's happening in your transactions without having to pay for it, right? So our idea was to provide it to people for free. In the background, we're looking at monetization through basically selling a service for wallets. We think that this user experience should just be directly built into wallets, right? So hopefully they'll be paying for our services so that their users are protected. And that's the main like monetization avenue we're exploring right now. We have some other ideas in terms of like freemium models and like insurance and things like that. But I guess the short answer is we haven't really cracked the revenue problem yet. We haven't figured that out in full, but we have some like solid leads in terms of, One Wallet's already, for example, signed an agreement with us. We're also thinking about basically what freemium models to like test out right now. So it's free for now, and we're testing a few revenue like income streams basically at this stage. We're still very early, as you might be able to tell.
Yeah, and then I don't mean to grill you or anything. I'm just always curious, when someone offers something for free, I'm always curious, like not necessarily like what's in it for you, but more so like what makes you guys able to make it sustainable. So that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues with Web3 right now is when you're in it and you've been in it for 2-3 years at this point. It's very easy, it's very intuitive, but that's because you're intuitive to it, right? It's not getting your mom or your aunt or your uncle or your cousins onto it, set up on a MetaMask, and then crossing your fingers that they're not going to hit a malicious link or mint a malicious project. That's some scary shit. And it's something that it's one of the reasons why I don't onboard my family or friends. I tell them, hey, if you want to look into it, you do it yourself, because I'm not going to be responsible for you getting hacked and scammed. But you're right. Like this should be something that's built in. So lovely, ambition there. So I really like that.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like the way I've explained it to my family, because they often ask, what I'm doing, what the hell I'm doing. The way I explain it to them is like, imagine you buy a coffee in the morning, right, across the street, whatever it is. You tap your credit card or pay with your credit card at the coffee store. And by the time you get to your office or by the time you get home, you realize that your entire savings account has been drained. And like, that's the state of crypto right now. The crazy part of it is like, that's the state of crypto. Like your entire wallet is getting drained for making one payment by signing one thing that you're not really understanding. So yeah, it's just like this insane world we live in is clearly not fit for the next, million, billion, whatever people, number of people often reference here.
Yeah, we got some work to do, and luckily we have developers that are like very proactive in trying to solve it. So that's awesome. Would you be interested in going ahead and show us a demo real fast, screen sharing?
Yeah, sure thing. I have a great example, a great few examples actually. Let me see. How do I share my screen? Here we go. So I'll give a demo on a known scam site and a few like more benign examples as well. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Working on it. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I just opened up a website called Freemint NFT Worlds. I think this might be a fake copy of a project, but this is a known scam site, by the way. So this is like, I've confirmed it. I know a few people who got scammed by this, unfortunately. And so I've already connected my wallet because I've been testing Pocket Universe on it previously. But basically what happens when you press mint here, and I'll just do it, is this website spams you with 3 different types of scam. And Pocket Universe is going to like see that transaction being initiated, and it's going to pop up and tell you what happens in those transactions. So, for example, here it's just asking me to directly transfer my goon to like a scammer. And you shouldn't do this, at home. But I'm going to press continue just to show you what it looks like in MetaMask. And it is like much less clear, right? At a glance, it's hard to tell sometimes like exactly what's happening here, especially for someone new. Thankfully, like this UX is a little bit better because it's telling you, hey, like, why am I transferring like one of my NFTs out? So that's quite, I would say that's much better than some of the other UX, but we just give you a very like visual way of understanding what's going to happen to your wallet. And again, like this website keeps spamming as you reject transactions, it'll just keep spamming different types of scams at you. And it just looks through my wallet for various NFTs to steal. So this is like a good example of like what a scam could be, and there are multiple types of scams that we catch. Like the main one is token approvals. There are ones that, like this website, basically just keeps requesting for NFT transfers directly to them. And if I get to the end of the NFTs that they've requested, they end up just asking for like a generic. They ask you to sign this generic message, which surprisingly someone got scammed by. Even though MetaMask has this red message here, like our view of this is that you should never be within one click of being scammed, because FOMO, rushing, being distracted, that can happen. And I know someone who got scammed by this, crazily enough. So that's what the UI looks like. I mean, as you can see, like you press mint, you press some button, and then any transaction that is initiated will pop up in Pocket Universe first. And then if you want to continue, if you like what you see, it'll pop up in MetaMask. Cool. I can show you what it looks like on a normal transaction as well, if that helps. So let's close. Let's close the scam one.
My mind's kind of racing to all sorts of things. Like, I don't know if you use it, but gosh, what's the name of the website? Sorry, my dogs always have to be featured on any of the office hours that
Good.
Are you a member of NFT Nerds?
I'm not, but I know it's a minting platform, right? Or is it a help? Not a help tool. Sorry, a tool that helps you like with trading NFTs.
Yeah, I mean it can, and that's what I'm curious. I was curious, but I'm sure it would pop up the same way. So I was just kind of curious to see what all kinds of websites prompts come of it.
Yeah, we work with a bunch of so a lot of our user base right now, like we have 5,000 weekly active users. A lot of them are like deep into NFTs and trading, and so a lot of them have been using platforms like that. And yeah, it works across like basically anything that initiates a transaction from your browser that'll hit MetaMask. That's what we would check for you. And so yeah, here's like an example on OpenSea of like just buying an NFT. Like we tell you that, okay, you're interacting with the official OpenSea contract. This is what's going to happen to your wallet, 0.26 ETH out. Here's your NFT in. And it's just like telling you what's going to happen. It's crazy that the UX isn't this in my mind. Like when you see this transaction in MetaMask, again, like it's hard to tell exactly what's happening. Like I'm paying this much ETH, but like what am I getting? I could just be getting, rubbish back. It's hard to tell. And if it was a scam as well, like you would see this much ETH leaving, but it would be hard to understand what's actually happening to your wallet in terms of what are you getting back. So yeah.
Very interesting and very smooth. Again, I love the idea of not being one click away from losing your assets or draining your wallet. I noticed that you pointed out that it is the official contract for OpenSea. Is that something that you guys verify, or is that verified? Is that using just on-chain stuff?
Oh, so
where does the verification come from?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, basically, we have a list of the top protocols on Ethereum based on usage, and we just keep like a list of this. As you interact with contracts, we'll check against this list and tell you if you're interacting with, well-known contracts, basically. And so this is the case where, actually, you mentioned this before, where Premint got hacked. Like, there's a situation where OpenSea gets hacked, their front end gets compromised, and you clicking buy on one of these NFTs actually leads you to a scam contract, right? And we protect you against that because we check exactly what contract you're interacting with, not what website you're interacting with. And the contract's the important part. That's what can't be altered by hackers and DNS hijackers. So yeah, that's something that we check for you. And like in the case that OpenSea gets hacked, we'll still protect you from scams through their website. And here's just another example of using DeFi, using Compound Finance is one of the biggest lending platforms. You just get to see what you're putting in and what you're getting out of it, which is their staking token.
Okay. So you have the protocols that are verified. You have the crypto that's the verified, which is awesome because there are so many out there that are shady. Any plans or maybe even features where the NFT themselves, the collection themselves, from the contract are being verified from you guys as well?
Yeah, there are a few cases of this, and these are a bit harder to find, but I can tell you that we've found 600 cases of this in the last week and a half or so. We, for example, check for NFT honeypots. So this isn't a perfect check because there are multiple ways you can set up a honeypot, but basically this is a scam where they'll make it look like it's a great NFT to buy because it's like a thin floor, high volume. There are a few, like maybe even some offers that might be higher than the floor, right? And so someone comes across this and they think, wow, I can make a quick buck here. And what actually happens when they buy the NFT is they realize selling is restricted and they can't actually sell it. And so they've just been tricked by like an NFT honeypot where it looks like a great trade, you buy it and you get punished for reaching your hand into the honeypot, as they say. What we do whenever you buy an NFT or mint an NFT is we do a quick check to make sure you can sell an NFT. Like selling's not restricted on this. So, for example, we've caught like 600 of these in the last week and a half since we launched that feature. And it's really just crazy how many like new scams pop up, each week, and how many things we need to like quickly add to our list of things to check for you. So that's like just one example of a new feature that we've built recently that, again, like protects like a bunch of people from losing their ETH in this case.
Okay, that's awesome. Love that that's an option there. I guess where my question, where I meant to kind of ask is, so let's say that there is I see a price on a Bored Ape and it's too good to be true. I have to act quick or I'm going to lose out on it. I will scoop it up. Turns out I'm on the wrong page. It's a malicious contract, less malicious, but just fake. Okay. Is there a plan on verifying collections for your alls? Users, so to speak. Oh, okay. So there it is right there.
So yeah, this blue verified tick is basically checking that NFT corresponds to the official contract, and how we do that is through OpenSea. So OpenSea like verifies collections, which tells you which contract it is as well. We use that basically verified tick to tell you that you're interacting with non-counterfeit NFTs.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was asking is like, would you guys ever, look at OpenSea to see what they have verified versus what you guys have verified? Perfect. That works great. Well, awesome. And the honeypot feature that you guys have recently added, that's really slick too. Are there other features that maybe we haven't even talked about that you guys have on there?
Yeah, to be honest, we're always like experimenting with a bunch of different ways to add value to like. And when I say add value, I don't mean like financial value. It's more about like protection and like providing useful utility. So there are scam features, for example, but on the other side of things, one thing that we experimented with basically for the month of September is the idea of like NFT insurance. So there's a big problem in terms of providing insurance in the sense that like you can never prove or understand if that person truly got scammed or if they just walked into a scam, right? And what our tool actually unlocks is because we show you what happens in your transaction and because we give you a red warning when you're doing a transaction, we can say that, hey, like we warned you about this scam and you still walked into it, like this doesn't count for something like insurance. So we actually released a token for free to our early users that basically covers them up to like $250 if they lose their assets to a scam that we didn't catch properly. So if we report this incorrectly and you lose your assets to a scam, like this, then you can get covered, up to $250 of, the assets you lost for free, basically. And we were just doing this one to like kind of keep ourselves accountable for what we're telling people in terms of, these transaction like analytics. But we're also like using it as a good way to find any bugs and find any new scams because people are going to report to us whenever anything seems off. and whenever they lose assets, right? So that's like just an interesting side feature, almost like it's almost like a premium feature to have like insurance coverage over my assets in my wallet. And I think that's something we're going to keep experimenting with going forward.
Okay, is it a potential that this might be like a side service for that application that you guys roll with as well?
Yeah, very much so. I think like it complements the idea of reporting things correctly very well, in the sense that like anytime that we're wrong and anytime that if we're incorrect and that leads to you losing an asset, we're going to compensate you for that, right? So I think that's like a very like sensible like mechanic to have in with a security tool like ours. And I think especially with people holding like a few $100 to a few $1,000 worth of assets in their hot wallet a lot of the time, I think people would want to have that extra sort of layer of security as well. It comes down to, even if you lose something there, you can still get your, coverage, and it's security in like a different sense, I suppose, like compensation rather than what we do with prevention with the normal tool.
Right on. That's incredible. You're kind of blowing my mind here a little bit. Honestly, the name Pocket Universe before I even looked and see what it was, I was like, oh, this must be an NFT project called Pocket Universe. I don't know, the word universe. There's been a lot of projects that have the word universe in it, but I was not expecting this to be like a free, open source protection project that you guys are working on. So I'm really impressed. Really, I'm kind of surprised to see something like that kind of come our way. So I don't have any more questions on my side. Excuse me. Jeez. But I'm curious if anyone on the crowd has a question they'd like to ask. But if not, we can go ahead and wrap this up with any kind of like maybe closing information that you want everyone to know about. Because I definitely want to make sure you have the last word and maybe mention something that maybe you didn't mention about the platform, or again, just kind of a takeaway. Would be really helpful, and I think people listening to this later on will appreciate that.
Yeah, sure thing. I'm happy to answer questions from anyone really in the crowd. I mean, I've done, to be honest, like a bunch of these like Twitter Spaces and a bunch of like office hours like this as well. So I've heard just about anything, and I've heard a lot of curious people come up on stage and ask things. I guess like, to be honest, like the main goal that we have is to keep people safe from these scams. Like it seems ridiculous that millions of dollars just exit the space each week. I mean, you've seen Pre-Mint get hacked, you've seen Izu and like Zeneca and Franklin's board, and like all these people just get their Twitters and Discords repeatedly wrecked, right? And a lot of the time, whenever they get hacked, it's just a link to a fake mint site that induces FOMO and gets people to sign something that is malicious. We just think that this shouldn't happen in the space. And during the bull market, it was kind of okay because people were just like, oh, I've lost some money, but I'm making so much anyway, so like I don't care as much. But now I think people are really feeling the pain of it. So yeah, we're here to stop that. We're here to protect people. And I'm really glad of like basically how the community's reacted so far. I mean, we've done like 0 real marketing, and we've gone up to 5,000 weekly active users completely through like word of mouth. I'm a horrible marketer, by the way, which is not a good thing. But yeah, I'm really glad with the progress we've had so far, and basically how many people come out of the woodwork and say, hey, like you protected me from a scam today. That always makes my day.
Well, I hope to add on to that because I've definitely installed the application. So I'm pretty good about not clicking things, but I've always had that thought in the back of my head, like, oh shit, like what if today's the day? But that's awesome. Does anyone have a question here though? Just real quick, and if not, we can kind of close things up.
Cool.
Right on. You did a great job explaining it too. It's kind of hard not to understand what it is. I guess that's the point. It's like, the blockchain is complicated, but it's very easy kind of to snap in and say, hey, it's kind of like slapping your hand. I have a friend who whenever we do something we're not supposed to, he comes up and goes, no, and slaps our hand. So like I feel like that's what your app does. So I love that. But we want to thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to see this kind of become massively adopted. I don't see why people haven't started smashing the install button yet.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, thanks so much for having me. And I mean, I really appreciate it. And what you were saying is like completely right, to be honest. We just think it shouldn't be a mystery when it comes to, signing transactions. And there should be like big red warnings for if you're trying to sign something dangerous, basically. So I'm glad to be the hand slapper for you.
Excellent. Right on. Well, you heard it first here, everybody. If you want to go ahead and download this Chrome, Brave, and Edge extension, go to Pocket Universe. That's pocketuniverse.app, where you can download it for free and start using it. Oh, hopefully my internet is still running. My dog just knocked my router over. But great. But yeah, so head on over there if you want to give the app a look. But we really appreciate you joining us today. I can't wait to see what is ahead for you guys. And thank you, everyone, for joining in here and listening later on. Everyone have a great night. Thanks.